The, verdict?
Well, what's the verdict?
Taking a guilty verdict to the judge right now.
Your Honor, on that basis, I'd like to move for a directed verdict of not guilty.
Your verdict will be so recorded. Dismissed.
So there's only one verdict you can put on the board, baby, and that's an NG.
You patiently wait your verdict.
It was a guilty verdict.
Madam Clerk, read the verdict.
Have you reached a unanimous verdict?
The defendant will please rise for the reading of the verdict.
I thought you'd be pleased with the verdict.
It is ordered now that the parties present the affidavits which the court, having received, will render a verdict upon in a fortnight.
And that is the verdict of you all?
Yes.
And I'd like to move at this time for a verdict of dismissal.
Right after the verdict, Miles suddenly found the napkin written in his handwriting and did all those interviews about it.
So what's the verdict, boys?
The jury has reached a verdict.
Nor does his strange behavior after he saw the body fall have any bearing on your verdict.
The clerk will now read the verdict.
2 o'clock today, my brother was given a verdict on his own trial.
There's always a pause when the jury goes out to consider their verdict.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
Now, we're going to be asking you to return a verdict of murder in the first degree.
After all, the verdict is always in your hands, isn't it?
Members of the jury, have you agreed upon a verdict?
You can make it his problem with your verdict.
Mr. Foreman, is it correct that the jury has reached a verdict?
The verdict was going to be not guilty.
Not guilty, the verdict for all of them?
She already got a not guilty verdict.
This tribunal will examine all the evidence presented here and in due course render its verdict. As to the proposed indictment, and as to the disposition.
So, your verdict?
The verdict in the Agani-Heaney case is expected today. And a verdict of accessory to murder in the first degree for Stanley Rothenstein.
By all that is right in this world, your verdict.
Do you still feel you can render a fair and impartial verdict?
For a verdict of not guilty.
What's a verdict?
You're not worried about the verdict, are you?
Members of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
Well, you see, Mr. Fitch, this is where I get a little confused because I was under the impression that we had already purchased ourselves a verdict.
Is they really going to buy this verdict?
Is your verdict as to all the defendants, as to all counts, or is it a partial verdict?
His verdict is accidental death, man.
That's his verdict.
The verdict of guilty must be the only possible conclusion.
The judge hopes that you will arrive at a verdict as soon as possible.
What's the verdict?
However you decide, your verdict must be unanimous.
We have nothing to gain or lose by our verdict.
And from the post-mortem examination of the body showing the actual cause of her death, you should have no difficulty in reaching your verdict, gentlemen.
Prepare to hear and obey the verdict of our Emperor.
What is your verdict?
I don't think there'll be any question about the verdict. Do you think that you're able to render a just and honest verdict in this case as adduced by the evidence of the law as laid down by the court?
That has nothing to do with your verdict.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Harry Esterbrook speaking to you from the courthouse here in Hillsborough, where the jury has just returned to render its verdict in the historic Hillsborough monkey trial case.
Gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
The jury has reached its verdict, Mr. Bannister.
Best verdict money can buy.
I remind Kevorkian this not guilty verdict does not change the fact that we still have a ban in effect.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you agreed upon a verdict?
What is your verdict?
What is your verdict?
The verdict of the jury is unanimous, Bertram.
Today's verdict has been the result of 5 years of struggle by this woman, Ellen.
What will its verdict be if you punish the innocent and betray your own greatness?
The Rock will be investigated as Young is vindicated by a verdict of involuntary manslaughter.
Well, what's the verdict? Then you must bring me a verdict of not guilty.
Your verdict, please.
What would you say if we said we don't agree with your verdict?
So what's the verdict?
Gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
I used Excalibur to change that verdict.
Do you still feel that you can render a fair and impartial verdict?
That doesn't show me that you can deliver a verdict.
And all France awaits your verdict.
Mr. Foreman, has the jury reached a verdict?
What is your verdict? How do I know that you can provide the verdict?
What you say to me now means much more to me than any other verdict.
Has the jury reached a verdict in this matter with regard to the charges of murder in the first degree and assault.
That's what verdict means.
Mr. Foreman, has the jury reached a verdict?
So it sounds great, but what's your verdict, Robin?
Its verdict is always final.
Well, the verdict is in.
Well, what's the verdict?
Having acquitting him, reversed the verdict of the former court.
She is saying that if I take this plea to trial, the verdict is going to hinge on who's shrink.
What was Kettlebaum's verdict?
Trying to keep an open mind as we examine the evidence, we have reached our final verdict.
We only need 8 of them for a verdict.
I shall await the verdict of the court.
After deliberating for about an hour, the jury has just come back with a verdict of not guilty.
Do you have any comment on the verdict?
Are you at peace with your king's verdict?
Simpson verdict.
Have you reached a verdict?